10-0 feels so great. You know what else would feel great is subscribing to the Michigan Football Report. Let's get to 23,000 subscribers. We're coming up on that next milestone here as a channel. Michigan is 13 days away from taking on Ohio State. Trust me, it's going to be a tremendous 13 days here in the channel and all around the Michigan football, college football landscape. So subscribe to the channel. We, folks, have got Overreaction Sunday coming up here on the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. All coming up right now. The Michigan Football Report is presented by Manscaped. Manscaped makes great holiday gifts, great stocking stuffers. So tell the friends and families in your life looking to get you a present to go to manscaped.com. Use promo code GOBLUE for 20% off and free shipping. It is Michigan Football Overreaction Sunday. We have got a lot of things to talk about today, all coming out of Michigan's 34-3 win over Nebraska yesterday afternoon into the evening. And my first overreaction, I don't think this is crazy overreaction. I think this is actually just the facts at this point. But, you know, you guys like to talk about things like this on Sundays, and we will say it. Bosa beat Ohio State again. If Michigan beats Ohio State in 13 days, Blake Corum will win the Heisman, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And I think that's just factual opinion. On the contrary, if C.J. Stroud and Ohio State, as long as he doesn't look terrible and they beat Michigan, I think he's going to win the Heisman. And that is just the way it is. I think Hendon Hooker has kind of worked his way out of the Heisman talk at this point. The favorite graphic of you on social media, let's take a look how Blake Corum compares after 10 games compared to the last two Heisman Trophy running backs, Derrick Henry in 2015 and Mark Ingram in 2009. Derrick Henry's pulled away a little bit, okay? He has now more carries, more yards, and one more total touchdown than Blake Corum does. But his 11th game, the one coming up for Blake Corum on Saturday against Illinois, that was the worst game for Derrick Henry in his Heisman campaign. He only had 9 carries for 68 yards, did have 2 touchdowns. Mark Ingram, in his 11th game, they played Chattanooga. He had 11 carries for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Corum, if he gets 160, 150 yards, something like that, he will be above the pace of both these running backs, and 2 touchdowns will put him still one behind Derrick Henry's pace, but nevertheless right where he needs to be going into the Ohio State game, which will be a 2-versus-3 matchup or a 1-versus-2 matchup potentially, and that is what will determine the 2022 Heisman Trophy, Blake Corum or C.J. Stroud. Take a look at it there. And now let me ask you guys to do this. If you like being 10-0, if you like being Michigan being the first 10-0 Wolverines team since the 2006 season, go ahead and give me a like on this video. Every like that you give means one more chance that Michigan's going to have, one more good vibe out there in the world that Michigan has to beat Ohio State again, coming up in 13 days. So go ahead and like the video. That 10-0 feeling, it feels damn good. Give me a like on today's video if you love Michigan, if you like being 10-0, and if you want to beat Ohio State in 13 days. Take a look at the other Heisman candidates here. C.J. Stroud, Hendon Hooker after 10 games. Stroud has 2,750 yards compared to Hendon Hooker's 2,888. Now, Stroud has many more touchdowns than Hooker does, 34 to 24 there on the year. Completion percentage, Stroud at 67% and Hooker at 71%. I think the biggest differentiator right now for C.J. Stroud is the touchdown passes that he has. He beats Michigan in a couple weeks, which won't happen. He, I think, will clinch the Heisman Trophy. Now, Bryce Young, last year's Heisman Trophy winner after 10 games, had 33 touchdowns, so one less than Stroud has now. 3 interceptions, basically about the same, but he did have 3,025 yards. So Stroud, kind of in the same boat that Blake Corum is, just off of a recent Alabama Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback and the most recent Heisman running back in general, Derrick Henry in 2015, also at Alabama. Check out Yoder's game balls. I will deliver my 3 game balls on today. First up, Blake Corum, 162 yards and a touchdown on the day. Think about the rest of the game balls. Offensive line. The Michigan offensive line, again, it didn't matter if it was Blake Corum, if it was J.J. McCarthy on the sweep, or if it was Isaiah Gash or C.J. Stokes. No matter who it was, they got the ball, they got the job done on the ground at least. Michigan didn't have a great day passing, but these guys absolutely mauled the Nebraska defensive line. They get my second game ball. The Michigan offensive line, 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also, you see, Mikey Sainristil. Not only did he have maybe the hit of the year for Michigan, at least, what you see on screen there, where he just completely upended the Nebraska player. He shut down their best wide receiver, the best player, Trey Palmer. 5 catches, 12 yards for Palmer was not a factor all day. Mike Sainristil really gave Michigan his all today, and I think he had one of his better games as a Wolverine player. He gets my 3rd game ball. Blake Corum, the offensive line, which helped Blake Corum in a lot of ways, and then Mike Sainristil. Blake Corum now has 1,349 yards through 10 games this season. I think, look, if Michigan would have had more competitive games early on, he might be at 1,500, 1,600 yards. Michigan didn't play him really in the second half of their first 3 games. But those 1,349 yards, more than Hassan Haskins had last year, and are the most by any Michigan football player since Denard Robinson's 1,702 yards in 2010. And I think the most rushing yards by a Michigan player, I'll have to confirm this, are by a Michigan running back since Mike Hart in 2006, but I'll fact check that later on. But clearly it's either Mike Hart in 06, 05, 04, something like that. But that's history for Blake Corum. And so what I've been saying for weeks is, despite him only being the starter for 1 year, likely going to the NFL after this year, he won't be a first-round pick, I don't think, but maybe a second, third-round pick. I still think Blake Corum is putting his name up there amongst the best Michigan running backs of all time, despite what will be limited career stats compared to some of the all-time greats that you and I both grew up with, know, and love. Let me know what your biggest overreaction to yesterday's game was. I think the one I've seen maybe the most, other than Corum for Heisman, might actually be the passing game for Michigan. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But go down in the comments here on YouTube, the YouTube channel for the Michigan Football Report. Comment below. Reply to other people's comments as well. Let them know why they're right or they're wrong. Your biggest overreaction, the biggest thing you take away from yesterday's 34-3 win over Nebraska. Number 2, there are a lot of concerns out there about injuries for this team. You may have saw Donovan Edwards. You might have saw Mike Morris. A lot of guys didn't play. Some guys were in uniform, et cetera, et cetera. Offensive line, secondary, et cetera. Running backs. We've got a lot to talk about when it comes to injuries. But I want to talk about this holiday season and Manscaped, 20% off and free shipping using promo code GOBLUE. This holiday season, I am giving thanks to Manscaped, folks. After the win last night, I wanted to get busy down below, and thanks to Manscaped, look at this, the Lawnmower 4.0. I'm going to toss it on screen. Yesterday morning, went in the shower, trimmed up down below, wanted to make sure the twig and berries were taken care of at night. There were no complaints, thanks to Manscaped. They've also got the Ultra Smooth package, which is part of many of the packages they have right here. You've got the crop shaver, crop gel, and exfoliator. It's a little razor. If you want to get a little more trimmed, more of like a face shaving clean down there, that is what this bad boy is for. I also got this in the mail from Manscaped. Refined, their Manscaped cologne, if you are a guy looking for some great cologne. I love every product at Manscaped. Maybe the best deal they have going on right now is the Performance Package. All these things sold separately, like $160. The Manscaped Performance Package on their website is $121.94. If you use our promo code GOBLUE, no spaces, $95.99. You get awesome products. The Lawnmower 4.0. I love Manscaped. I use it on a daily basis. Look at this. As I almost go to push it away, the Manscaped. I've got some Manscaped lip balm here as well. I put it on every single day. Manscaped.com. Promo code GOBLUE. Get 20% off and free shipping. Tell your family. Tell your friends. If you want to give me a gift, or you don't know what to give me, just go to Manscaped.com. Get me some male grooming products. Use promo code GOBLUE. The link and the promo code are down in the comments and the description of today's video. More on these injuries. So, Makari Page didn't play yesterday. Ryan Hayes was back in the lineup. Trevor Keegan didn't play after he limped off the game against Rutgers last Saturday. Donovan Edwards and Mike Morris. So those are the injuries that kind of happened yesterday. And as of this morning, all we know is what Jim Harbaugh said in his press conference yesterday. He says, I won't have an update on his status right now, is when Jim Harbaugh was asked about Donovan Edwards' injury and what he's dealing with. So with Michigan dealing with these injuries all year, I'm hoping that these are minor things. I'm hoping that Donovan Edwards, who was standing next to Mike Hart for much of the second half, was held out as a precaution, giving other guys opportunities. Michigan knew by about the middle of the first quarter that this Nebraska team had no chance of winning the game yesterday. So I'm hoping that that's what that means. Mike Morris came out of the game in the fourth quarter, hoping that he is, as Michigan's, I think, best defensive lineman. Obviously, him or Mozzie Smith, and they desperately need him in 13 days against Coleridge Stroud to bring the pressure. So we'll see what happens. We'll update that for you. If I have anything for you coming up tomorrow on Monday, we will put it in our Michigan football rumors roundup on Monday afternoon. So stay with it. Michigan has a ton of injuries. Trente Jones, Ryan Hayes is back, Trevor Keegan. Luke Schoonmaker was out, right? There's so many guys who have just kind of been dinged up, haven't played here, haven't played there. Michigan needs to be fully healthy 13 days from now. And if it means holding guys out against Illinois, a team that's reeling themselves with both injuries and 2 straight losses, that's okay. I think Michigan can get an ugly win no matter who plays next or this coming Saturday in 6 days. This Wolverines team is one of the most impressive after halftime I can remember, not just in program history, but maybe in college football history, right? What team can you remember that has dominated the second half of games as thoroughly and as utterly as Michigan has, especially the last 5 weeks? Indiana, 0 points after half. Penn State, 3 points. Okay. And they took a lead 17-14, I think it was, at some point, 17-13 in the second half versus Michigan. Then Michigan absolutely blew them out, scored 28 straight points after that. No points for Michigan State. No points for Rutgers. No points for Nebraska in the second half. Michigan, the last 5 games, 117-3 in the second half. That's comical, right? This isn't against Hawaii and Colorado State and UConn. This is against 5 straight Big Ten opponents. They've got 85 scholarships. Michigan has 85 scholarships. 3 points in 5 games. That's among the most dominating stats that I could ever remember in college football, no matter what the team is. Hell, the 1997 Michigan defense didn't even come anywhere close to that, right? So I think that Jesse Minter needs a big shout out the entire defensive staff and the defensive players. Taking over, you had David Ojabo, Aiden Hutchinson, Dax Hill, all kinds of players. Then you had a few guys, Vincent Gray and Chris Hinton, that left that didn't get drafted that could be on this team, left early. So they lost a ton from this defense. It's coming back. Dare I say, 2022 Michigan football defense better than 2021. The stats say they are so far, but I think the real decision will be made 13 days from now in Columbus, Michigan, Ohio State. Can they take down Coleridge Stroud and the Buckeyes one more time? Answer that question down in the comments. Yes or no? No. Will Michigan beat Ohio State again? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. The Ohio State fans already started infiltrating our comments last night in the Michigan football post-game video, 34-3 over Nebraska. So don't let them drown out with the no's. Type the yeses if you're a Michigan fan. Ohio State fans, go yourself. Thanks for bleeping that out, Jack. I really appreciate that. Michigan fans, go ahead and type Y. If you want to beat Ohio State again, it all comes down to passing consistency, which I don't believe Michigan has right now in any form or function. Here's your wide receiving leaders, right? Here's your receiving leaders yesterday. Yeah, Ronnie Bell with 4 catches. He fumbled right at the goal line yesterday, so kind of a knock on him. I think Ronnie Bell's been a great player for Michigan in a lot of ways, but he does seem to have some holes in his game. Every game you kind of scratch your head, what is Ronnie Bell doing here or there? I do hope he returns for a 6th year next year, which he is eligible, but nevertheless, I don't think he's developed into a number 1 wide receiver. True freshman Colson Loveland got a nice catch, 26 yards down the middle on a really interesting play call from Michigan that got them in scoring position, which they punched in for a touchdown. Roman Wilson returns 1 catch, Cornelius Johnson 1 catch, both on the same drive. Michigan really didn't do anything through the air yesterday, especially to any of these players. Ronnie Bell leading the way with 4 catches. Ohio State, folks, is going to beg Michigan to pass the ball. They're going to tell J.J. McCarthy, JJ, there's a reason we didn't recruit you, right? There's a reason that we picked another player in that same recruiting class. They actually took 2 quarterbacks after what's the kid's name here in Texas? Quinn Ewers, came there. So they took 2 players, 2 quarterbacks. J.J. McCarthy may have gone to Ohio State had they offered him earlier on in the period before Kyle McCord committed there. They don't think he can throw. I'm not sure he can throw consistently at a high level. I think he's a really good quarterback. I challenge him to be more consistent down the field. I challenge Michigan's play calling to put him in the position to have more successful downfield routes. And I challenge the Michigan wide receivers to run routes, get open. When the ball is contested, which maybe is the biggest challenge right now, catch the ball, right? You're not always going to be wide open. When a guy is in your face and the ball is put right there, go up and get it. Michigan has not done that really so far this season. And we've seen that yesterday against Nebraska. If Michigan can't put together at least a competent passing game against Ohio State, I think it's going to be a big challenge to win on the road in Columbus, no matter what Blake Corum, maybe Donovan Edwards, and others can do in the running game. How about Mason Graham? He just popped off the screen yesterday watching this game. Jim Harbaugh has been praising him since the preseason, since fall camp. was listed as a starter, although is he a starter? He's here, he's there. I wouldn't call him getting starter snaps all the time. He's always in there at the beginning of the game. In Michigan's base set, which is really a 5 defensive lineman set, Mason Graham is considered a starter. I wouldn't say he's a starter, but he's like right in there in the rotation. He had a hell of a game yesterday. 3 tackles. He doesn't jump off. He didn't have like a all-time stat game, but he was absolutely blowing up that Nebraska offensive line every time I saw him on the screen. 3 tackles, got a sack, quarterback hit, tackle for loss on that sack as well. But I think the future is super bright with Mason Graham having at least 2 more seasons in Ann Arbor as the anchor of the middle of the Michigan defensive line. A big-time game for him, and I love what we're seeing out of Mason Graham. I think he's got All-American potential coming up in the 23 and 24, hell, maybe even 2025 seasons. Michigan has Illinois coming up in 6 days. One note, their star running back, Chase Brown, who's having nearly as good of a season as Blake Corum is at this point, just a few less touchdowns. He left the game yesterday in their loss to Purdue in the fourth quarter, very late in the fourth quarter, under a minute left, limping. There was some initial word, which I haven't gotten confirmed yet, that he looked really bad on the injury. He couldn't even walk off on his own late in the game. So there's a chance he could miss this game. Predict the score. I'm going to guess something ugly without even really scouting Illinois much. I'm going to get into that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm going to go Michigan, something like today, right? Like I think it's going to be 31, let's just say 31-10, 31-13, something like that. Michigan will win that game. Let me know your score predictions down in the comments here on the Michigan-Nebraska Overreaction Sunday. Get down in the comments, predict the score for Michigan-Illinois coming up on Saturday. And Tuesday night, we will be back, but the College Football Playoff works with college basketball and their TV partner ESPN to make you watch a little later, watch some of the college basketball games. So there will be a basketball game on ESPN on Tuesday night, and we will have to wait for that to be over until we can go live. So right around 8:45, 15-20 minutes before the rankings start Eastern time, we will be live again. Thank you so much to everyone who joined this past Tuesday night. Join us again on Tuesday, but about 2 hours later, 8:45 p.m. Eastern is the rough time we'll go live, depending on how late the game goes. It's youtube.com/Michigan TV. Hope you enjoyed our Overreaction Sunday. We will have more on this Michigan football program coming up on Monday. So I see you then. Go Blue.